allies joined the fight against Iraq. That could have cost the U.S. its Arab support. They were very, very worried about that. It apparently has not happened.
Not happened as of now, anyway, Bob Zelnick. Thank you very much. And as best we can tell, the attack on Iraq began maybe 45 minutes ago. It's now 7:41 Eastern Time, 3:41 in the morning in Baghdad. The president is going to talk in about an hour and 20 minutes from now. Britt Hume at the White House.
Now told that that speech is expected to last about 10 to 12 minutes, and that the president has worked his way through something like 4 drafts of it. I've heard from other people here that the speechwriters have been on almost 24-hour duty for days and are absolutely bleary-eyed with exhaustion, and in part that's because they've had to work on differing drafts without any real knowledge of exactly what's going to happen. The president is said, however, to have been at work on these various drafts for several days, which goes back to the point you and I were talking about earlier, that he has obviously been contemplating this for some time. He's between 6 and 7 is when he made his calls to the leaders, we're told, and he did it from the small study adjacent to the Oval Office, and he had Vice President Quayle, National Security Advisor Scowcroft, and his Chief of Staff, Governor Sununu, with him when he made those calls. He's also called some foreign leaders, a list of those to come later.
Okay, Britt, thanks very much. A number of people, obviously politicians and statespersons of all persuasion are going to want to talk within the next 24 hours. The Kuwaiti ambassador to the United Nations has made a statement in which he says the military action fulfills the wish of the international community to liberate Kuwait from the Iraqi aggression, and he wishes victory for this operation. It used to be called Desert Shield when it was a standing operation defending Saudi Arabia against any further Iraqi aggression and perhaps waiting for offensive action. Now that it is a war, the president is calling it Operation Desert Storm. The Secretary General of the United Nations, who made that last ill-fated attempt to try to talk Saddam Hussein into a political settlement, has also expected to make some statements a little later this evening. But you will recall, if you were watching or listening to the reporting over the last several days, he came back extremely depressed. In the words of ABC's David Ensor, who flew back from Europe with him, Saddam Hussein seemed much more concerned about offering tea and coffee to the Secretary General than engaging in any kind of a dialogue at all with the Secretary General. And there are people, by the way, those who know Saddam Hussein better than most, not that many people know him very well at all, who believe that one of the things in his mind is to try to get this battle started, to say to the Iraqi people and his other supporters in the Middle East and elsewhere in the developing world that he has stood up to the American imperialists, and then perhaps try to sue for some kind of peace before his country is totally obliterated. That is, if you believe that the American military and the other 25 nations aligned against him in the Gulf are capable of doing the damage which so many military planners have said they are capable of doing. Britt Hume at the White House again. Britt.
Peter, just one brief further thing. We've been trying to get some sense of the nature of this attack, whether this is a preliminary attack with limited goals or whether this is all out. And spokesman Fitzwater simply would tell us that the attack will be and is being swift and massive. Swift and massive, his words.
Okay, Britt Hume, thank you very much. We said earlier that the price of oil on the Houston and New Orleans markets, which were still open about a half hour ago, had jumped $3 a barrel immediately on the news that America had gone to war against Iraq. They're now at $35 a barrel. The Tokyo stock market, which is perhaps as sensitive to political and military happenings as any in the world, has fallen by almost 1.5%. It is down 300 points at the moment. War has begun between the United States and Iraq. I say the United States and Iraq because we are not yet sure that other members of the coalition, namely the British and the French, who have an air capability, have engaged in this initial assault against Kuwait and against Iraq. But that is news to come. We will go away and try to pull in some more information over the next 3 minutes, so we will be back after this and a word from your local ABC station. We hope you'll stay with us.
Good afternoon from the One Network News team. You've been watching the ABC's Peter Jennings, and to recap on this afternoon's events, the Western Allies are at war with Iraq. To recap, the Western Allies are at war with Iraq. Now, the first flashes from from the United States reached New Zealand at about 12:48 New Zealand time. Shortly afterwards, a White House spokesman came out and announced that the liberation of Kuwait had begun. Operation Desert Storm is underway. Now, as far as we know at this stage, Israel has not been attacked, as the Iraqis threatened they would do if they were attacked themselves. However, the Israelis have made an announcement. They have asked the citizens of Israel to stay at home and to keep their gas masks nearby. Now, later on this afternoon, we'll be going on to, well, shortly this afternoon, we'll be going on to Judy Bailey and Lindsay Perigo, who are mounting a special in our studio. Otherwise, we'll come back to you a little later on with more of ABC's continual coverage of the war which has just broken out in the Gulf. That's Operation Desert Storm. Thank you very much.